Welcome to Partnerships for Profit, the podcast where we bring you inside the world of joint ventures, strategic partnerships, and powerful collaborations. Each episode, you'll dive into conversations with top entrepreneurs, visionaries, and business leaders, unlocking the secrets to building profitable relationships that drive growth and success. Whether you're looking to expand your network, find new referral partners, or scale your business, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
Hey there. Welcome everyone to the Partnerships for Profit podcast. I am your host, Macy J, and I am joined with someone amazing here. We have Jay Wilkinson here in the building. Gonna give a little round of applause for Jay.
I love the round of applause. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, today we are going to talk all about how you have turned your repeated failure into success. I've already got my pen and pad out here ready to take some notes, learn from you. So just a little bit about Jay, if you don't know who he is. So Jay is the founder of the Do More Good movement. You can see the sign in the background. It's all lit up. Jay turned early failures into explosive success, building Firespring, which is Nebraska's first Certified B Corp, and investing in nearly 100 startups. And I really dream to be like him one day. So welcome in, Jay. How are you feeling here today?
I'm doing so well, Macy. Thank you so much for this kind and generous invitation to join you today.
Absolutely. You have such incredible achievements, but you also have tenacity. And I feel like this is something that should be highlighted, celebrated. I can't wait to hear more about who you are, your message, your story, and just getting to know you and just show the world how amazing you are. So I always like to start off my episodes with a little this or that, to kind of warm things up. No pressure. Okay?
No pressure.
No pressure. So what we have here, I got my little book. Okay. And this is going to be like social media edition. Okay. So would you rather choose Instagram or TikTok?
Oh, I would choose TikTok over Instagram.
Ooh, yeah. Well, TikTok is the new wave. I don't have TikTok. Okay. What about, would you rather post a story or make a legit formal post?
Post a story for sure.
Oh, like a little behind the scenes. Okay, I like it. Okay, so I'm just gonna flip over. I'm gonna flip over to destination cities. Would you rather go to New York or go to New Orleans?
Oh, now that's really hard.
As I'm in New Orleans.
Yeah, I know you're in New Orleans, and it's an amazing place, and I love New Orleans, but New York City, I lived there for 4 years, and it's my favorite city in the States. So I have to say New York.
New York City is literally the hub. It's like the times I've gone to New York City, it's like I all of a sudden want to go walk around in the street with a briefcase, have a coffee in my hand. I don't know why.
Oh, yeah.
I'm always motivated. Okay, let's do one more. Would you rather go to Dubai or Dublin?
You know what? For that one, I will say Dublin, because I've been to Dubai and I haven't been to Dublin. So I'm going to say Dublin.
Okay, yeah. Well, I haven't been to either. So, well, maybe I'll have the chance to go to both. So you want to go to Dublin. You like New York over New Orleans. So I'm not mad at it. So now that we kind of warm things up with a little would you rather, a little this or that, let's get to know who Jay is. So I want to know, you started 8 businesses. This is 8 businesses before graduating college, and most of them failed.
Yes, they did.
So what kept you going after so many failures and flops in the beginning?
Yeah. Miserable, fiery deaths they were. I would say my answer to that would be the same thing that I believe most any entrepreneur would say. I was getting an education. Mm-hmm. And I often refer to the lessons that I learned in those days as paying tuition, because every time a business would fail, I would walk away with something that was just as valuable as monetary gain or an exit. I got to test things in the real world. I learned what didn't work and what did, and what kept me going was this deep belief that failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of the path. And I just refuse to let the fear of failure be louder than the desire to build something meaningful. So
Wow.
I would say those lessons were invaluable and foundational. Every one of them, every scar taught me something that I needed to learn. And as you know about scars, they grow back stronger.
Yeah.
There's a scar. So the key to all of that, though, is you never want to pay tuition twice.
So what do you mean by that? Pay tuition twice? If
you've learned something, the biggest travesty would be that if you repeated the whatever it was, whatever the lesson was that you learned from it, if you made the same mistake twice, that's a travesty. So never pay the same tuition twice.
Ooh, that was some bars. Okay, wow. So you said failure isn't the opposite of success. It's a part of it. Like it's literally like this. Here's success, here's failure. This is what comes with it. And you learn something along the way. And I like that you said, don't learn the same lesson twice, because you don't want to pay for the same lesson twice. And I feel like you already, we're like 5 minutes in. What's going on, Jay? Okay, wow. So let's learn about this Do More Good movement. I want to know more about the sign that's behind you. Okay. What inspires you to create it? What was the catalyst for you?
Well, the inspiration behind starting the Do More Good movement was for certain this deep-seated belief and understanding that capitalism, I believe that capitalism is broken and it's not working for everyone. And just to be really clear, myself and all of us at the Do More Good movement, we believe in a dynamic free market capitalist economy. I think that capitalism is the answer. It is not the problem, but the kind of capitalism that we see too pervasively right now is corporatism and greed and nepotism in business and all the things where businesses are largely run today across America and across the world, for that matter, as a means to make money for the owners of the company. And there's nothing wrong with that. I want to be really clear that profit is really, really, really important and necessary. Companies that are purpose-driven cannot do good in the world if they don't have profit. So please don't mishear or misunderstand what I mean when I say that purpose and people should be on the same level as profit. We refer to this as the triple bottom line. Not just the financial outcomes, but also how are we impacting the people, our communities, and also how are we taking care of our planet. And I recognize all of this. And, I built a company, several companies that were, featured in best places to work lists and things like that.
Wow.
Certified B Corporation and all the things. And along the way, I recognized that so many of my peers that were running companies, they understood the why. They knew that we have to pivot the way we run companies to contribute to society, to uplift humanity, not necessarily only make money for the owners, and that's the only purpose.
Right.
They knew that this was important, but they didn't really know how. So the Do More Good movement is really structured around teaching business owners and their leaders how to make that step. And I believe that companies, and I'm not talking about Facebook or Meta or gigantic Fortune 5,000 companies. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the average company that in the average city across the world, across America, an electrical services firm, a plumbing company, that could be a product company, anywhere from 5 employees to 5,000 employees, that these companies oftentimes don't really know how to take the steps necessary to become a purpose-driven company. And so that's what we're focused on.
Absolutely.
And it's been a really amazing ride.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I like that you're talking about being purpose driven because like you said, many companies they don't really know how to start, they don't know where to begin. And I think like you said it's okay like if you want profit, that's obviously what makes a business run,
Yeah,
but it's also equally important to care about people and the community and there's a lot more Gen Zers. They're looking for organizations that are purpose driven. They're trying to find ways to give back
absolutely.
to the community. And so, do you have a story that you could share that kind of like set it off where you were like, I'm actually tired of seeing this. I'm going to create something of my own. Just something that started that for you at the beginning of this journey.
You know, what you just mentioned, you know, Gen Z, and I would even expand that into say millennials and Gen Z, and everyone, millennials, Gen Z, and younger. We comprise, or they comprise, because I'm not in that group. 78% of the world's workforce. I mean, that's where our workers come from.
Yeah.
And what is so abundantly clear is that if you are in those, the vast majority, more than 80% of the people that fit in that classification, when they answer the question, what's important to them in their work, the most important, yes, money is still important. I'm not one of those people that say it's like 10th on the list. You shouldn't worry about how much you pay people. People need to be paid a fair and even above average wages for companies to be really effective in today's world.
For sure.
So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just making sure that purpose is present in an organization. And because people want and need to be part of something that's bigger than themselves. And this is the vast majority of the people working in the world today. So if we don't build our companies so that people want to be part of it, and what I'm saying is I'm not talking about aspiring to be the best company in the world. I'm talking about the best company for the world, where the company stands for something more than just making profit for its owners. And people will flock to be part of that. And people will buy the products and services. So there wasn't necessarily a single story or thing that led me to, we have to build this and start this. But it was the recognition that the writing is on the wall. I believe that companies that don't understand how to make the change, most of them know that they need to, some don't, but the ones that don't really invest in understanding how to make this change, I sincerely do not believe that they will still be in business in 5 or 6 years. They will be out of business the way of the dinosaur, because other companies will rise into those spots, and those are the companies people will want to buy products and services from and or go to work for.
Yes, like you literally said something that stood out to me, to be the best business, not to be the best business in the world, but to be the best business for the world. I was like, whoa, like you just like changed my day. Just saying that because, you see like corporate volunteerism. There's a lot of people like employees that want to get involved with, even volunteer efforts. And so if you have companies that want to be good for the world, employees, they want to get involved too.
Yeah. Absolutely. And employees shouldn't have to choose between meaning or money. They should be able to get all of the above.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And they're also being paid, like you say, they can be paid way above than the average, because I feel like people, they put in so much work and they should be having purpose plus getting paid. Like there's nothing wrong with that either. So considering the fact that you're a serial entrepreneur, you're investing in over 100 companies. So when you're looking to invest in these companies, are you looking for purpose-driven businesses? What makes specific businesses stand out than others?
Yeah, when we look at opportunities, when I look at opportunities specifically in the early phase as an investment opportunity, most of the time these companies are a little bit too early stage to truly have implemented what I would consider really progressive culture practices and understanding how to build teams. Because at the time that I'm looking at them as an investment opportunity, there's usually a couple of co-founders and maybe the first 2 or 3 team members. And so it's a little early to really fully evaluate them on their ability to be a purpose-driven company or to fit the do more good mindset. But what I can evaluate is of course, you've heard this a million times that most investors bet on the jockey, not the horse. Most investors, including myself, invest in people that are building these companies, and I want to know what they've built before, and if they haven't built a company before, when they were working in a company, what did they value about the work that they did and the company and the culture, and how it aligns with all the things related to purpose. So I'm very much evaluating all those things, but more than anything, as I said, after we've gone through the jockey and then now if we're evaluating the horse and trying to figure that out, I invest only in startups that have attained revenue. So I don't invest in pre-revenue companies.
Okay.
I want assurance that some human outside of the grandmother or uncle of the founder is willing to pay for whatever product or service they developed. Mm-hmm. So I invest only in early stage startups that have recognized revenue, and been incredibly excited about the opportunity to help young entrepreneurs go through this process. I'm one of the co-founders of a group called the Nebraska Angels, which is an association of angels. We have around 120 members, and every month we have 2 different people. It's like watching Shark Tank in real life, in front of the room. And 2 people will come pitch their companies, and then as a group of investors, we will make individual decisions to invest in their deal. It's not like Shark Tank that we're fighting for the deals against other sharks. We're working together to help support these entrepreneurs and to elevate the ecosystem here in the Midwest and to create more opportunities for startups here in the breadbasket.
Yeah, I like that you talk about the Nebraska market, because you say that you were in New York City and then you moved out to the Midwest. Yeah. What is the difference in the economy? Like, what is the difference? What kind of opportunities are in Nebraska versus New York City, which is like the hub of business?
Yeah. Well, so many differences. I'll bypass all the obvious differences around population and culture and things like that, and say that the Midwest, and I can talk particularly about Nebraska because my family settled here in the 1800s on both sides. I guess the covered wagon broke down, and they said, "I guess this is where we're living." And
that's it.
And so I admire the spirit and the moxie that the settlers had in this part of the world way back when. Mm-hmm. But the people here have this rare mix of grit and humility and resourcefulness. Right. And it makes it really fertile for entrepreneurship. I often have people say to me that come into Nebraska that maybe have come from elsewhere, like, I can talk to anybody here. I can send a text or pick up the phone and talk to the CEO of $1 billion company just up the road, and he'll take your call and he'll go have a cup of coffee with you and give you feedback on his idea. So I think we have something that's arguably more powerful than the flash and the sizzle of either New York City or Silicon Valley.
Yes.
We have this deep-rooted work ethic and a strong sense of community, and a bias also for building things that last. Yes. I find that the mentality of the startups that I see here are more likely to infuse value into something rather than extract value from it. And I think that's really important. So,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I was just speaking with Jay before we got on this episode. I am from Kansas, so I do appreciate, like you mentioned, they have the grit, they've got the hustle, the humility, and the resourcefulness, because when you're not really surrounded by like big major cities, you've got to come up with something out of nothing. Yeah. And there are a lot of people that are very open-minded and down to earth to work with you. And sometimes if you go out there to the city, they're looking at you like, are you talking to me? Like, and they're like, what are you doing? And so I like the fact that you said, everybody is just super humble and friendly in the Midwest. And there's so many opportunities. Yeah. Now, when it comes to being like an angel investor, has there ever been like a really cool idea? Like, has there ever been something that's been like, wow, that is a really good, like, you're seeing so many businesses that are presented to you. Has there ever been one that's like stood out? Like, that was a really good presentation.
So many. But I'll just focus on one that comes to mind when you say that, because at present it's the biggest exit that I've had as an investor. So in 2014, there was a local entrepreneur. His name was Vishal Singh. He emigrated to Nebraska from India, and plugged into the University of Nebraska and did all kinds of things around agriculture. And he came and pitched to the Nebraska Angels. And he pitched a product essentially that, I guess the best way to really explain it, it's Fitbit for cows.
Whoa!
So it's this smart, non-invasive ear tag that they put into a cow, and it captures all kinds of biometric and behavioral data in real time that allows you to track, the health of your herds. And 6 years later, this company had an exit. They sold to Merck Animal Health. And I had a 60 times return on my original investment, and just so as an example, that one investment that I made essentially paid the principal off on all of the other investments I had made up to that point in time.
Wow!
And so those are the kind of things that an angel investor just gets giddy about. So it's not just the return on the investment, but it's also the innovation and the focus on ag tech, which is something that's near and dear to my heart since. My family were ranchers back, for a long time before I came into this world.
That is so cool. I've never heard of a Fitbit for cows. Like, I'm like, are they tracking their calories, like their steps? Like, I have certain questions.
All of those things.
Whoa, that is so neat. Like, I just think just being an investor, you just think about, you're just putting money into things, but you're hearing so many creative ideas on a daily, and you're like, which one sounds good to invest into? So let's just say I'm an up and coming person who wants to become an investor too. Like, maybe I want to start my own investment company. What advice would you give to someone who's looking for organizations that are wanting to have investors? What are the top things that you think that they should look for really good ROI?
So as an investor who's considering investing, my biggest advice would be to find an organized group of angel investors, if that's something that's of interest to you. Because we're all in this together. We're so much stronger together than we are individually or apart.
Totally.
And in the early days, when we first started the Nebraska Angels, as an example, there were several members. We would have somebody come and pitch about some kind of health technology. I've never been in medicine. I haven't been a doctor. I don't really know a lot. I don't know what questions to ask about the viability of products. But, the cardiologist over here on my, on one side, and, the ER doctor over here on the other side had great questions, and they can really help break through things. So my best advice in that realm is to find an already organized group of angel investors who you can team up with to help do your due diligence. And the other thing I learned quickly in the early years, I used to take meetings with all kinds of people, and I'll still take meetings and chat with people, but not for the purpose of vetting their company. I'll meet them just as individuals and help maybe give them some advice as an entrepreneur and what to do, what not to do. But I don't vet investment opportunities individually anymore. If someone reaches out to me and says, "Hey, would you invest in my startup?" It's XYZ company. I refer them to the Nebraska Angels. They then go through the process of due diligence by having our screening committee ask them a lot of questions. And by the time it gets in front of the room where I'm there as a participant, it's already been vetted for all of the basic stuff. And they've gotten really great advice on how to put together their term sheet and how to structure their valuation and all the things. So as an angel investor or someone who's interested in investing, I highly recommend joining some kind of associated of a group that does that, so you can extend your ability to do your due diligence beyond what just is in your own head.
Oh my gosh, that is such good knowledge there, because like you said, if there's medical tech type of stuff, you don't really know much about it, and you're surrounded by people who have different experiences, different education backgrounds, and so you're able to be like, so I mean, what do you think? And then they're like, well, and they're giving their opinions, and so like you say, you go further with a group of people versus when you're just alone, because you might make a risk on something that might not have been the greatest investment. And then you're like, oh, I could have really bounced that idea off of someone else. So I like that you said, join a group, get connected with some other investors, and they can really kind of help guide you along the way. And you can see the process and all of that great stuff. So this has been great, just talking about investing alone. I'm so intrigued, and I'm already learning so much. But I do want to ask you about, since you are a serial entrepreneur, I want to know more about how you scaled a print business to $1 million in sales faster than anyone else in the network. So how are you scaling a print business? How did that happen?
Well, I'll give a little context on like how that started in the first place. I was living in New York City in the late 80s, early 90s after starting a magazine that I launched when I was in college that grew to 350 college campuses. I sold that publication and invested in a printing franchise. This was way back in 1992.
Wow.
The name of the franchise was Alpha Graphics, which at the time was the nation's premier printing franchise. And by premier, I mean, it doesn't have the most locations, but they had the highest revenue per store and the most profitability, which is what I was interested in. Wow. So I bought a franchise in the Alpha Graphics franchise network in Lincoln, Nebraska, where I wanted my son, who had just been born in New York City. I wanted him to grow up on grass instead of concrete. So I figured this is the way to do that. And I brought him and whatever limited resources I had after selling the magazine to start this up. And what I did, this is so simple. It's such a simple concept. This concept of R&D, which I think most people know about. Most people know it as research and development. I refer to it as rip off and duplicate. Because R&D, what it was for me is I came to Lincoln, and then I got on a plane. I flew to the West Coast, spent a month. I flew to the East Coast and spent a month, and then I drove around the Midwest. And in that couple of month period, I visited more than 100 franchises in the Alpha Graphics network. Wow. I just walked in cold. Again, this was before the internet, and so there was no emailing people or whatever. I just walked into the business. And I said, hey, my name is Jay Wilkinson. I'm starting up an Alpha Graphics franchise in Nebraska. Is your owner here? I'd like to talk to them about their success here. And every place I went, either if the owner was out of town, I would talk to a manager or somebody. But I always had somebody who would sit down and chat with me. And I just asked them, if you could go back in time and start again, what would you do differently? How would you approach marketing differently and customer development? And like what marketing techniques or growth tactics have worked? What have you tried that failed? And I would ask, and I had notebooks full of the answers to these questions. And I came back, I went through everything, and I just took the top 5 ideas out of all of this, and I deployed those things. And in our 10th month of business, we had an annualized monthly revenue of $1 million. It was the fastest that anyone in the franchise network had ever grown. And it was just simply by asking questions like, how did you do it? And then following, the lessons that I learned from others. There's so much opportunity there. It's very simple.
Yes. I mean, you could still do that today. Like that's literally, you said you spent some time on the West Coast, then you went over to the East Coast, then you circled through the Midwest, and you're gathering all this data, literally just writing down the answers and notes and finding the common ground from all of these people that you're interviewing. So then you implement that into your business, and then it's scaled over 1 million. That's whoa.
And people we're wired to help. One thing I know about humans is that if someone comes to us with a genuine and sincere, work ethic and request, and and asks for help. Hey, would you mind helping me, just simply by sharing what you've learned? It's a simple thing, and
Right.
people love to help. So ask. And there's so many entrepreneurs I know that for some reason, for whatever reason, they think they have to reinvent it all themselves or figure it out on their own without, trying to learn from other people's mistakes and successes.
And there's beauty in that. There's beauty in asking those questions and gaining wisdom, because it's like you kind of surpass, like you kind of skyrocket because you are asking questions. And I think sometimes if you become an entrepreneur, it's almost like, oh, I feel like I could just do this on my own. I don't need a team. I don't need any help. And then you make all of these mistakes, and then you waste so much time that you could have been asking some great questions from people who want to help you. So I feel like this is not just applying to one industry. This can literally, like, it can transfer to business, it can transfer to sales, it can transfer to performance, and so many different ways. So, I'm loving all of this wisdom that you're giving to me and the audience, but I want to know more about you and your wife. You guys have traveled to so many different countries. And so I want to know, like, what was your favorite place to go? Where was your top 5? What's your top 5?
Oh my goodness. That is another very difficult question. So I'll share this with you, Macy. When my wife and I were married, we, in addition to our wedding vows, we made a vow to have a meaningful experience in 100 countries together. It was something that was really important to us, a sense of adventure and learning. And if I had to choose a location that had probably had the most impact on me and was the most like humbling and awe-inspiring experience that I've had, it would have to be Antarctica.
Ooh.
There's something about standing on a continent that has no permanent residence, no borders, no politics, no sovereignty, just raw, untouched nature that reminds all of us just how small we are and how big the world really is. And it wasn't just, icebergs and penguins. It was the silence and the kind of stillness that changes you. But moving away from that, I would say what makes travel meaningful, at least for my wife and I, isn't just checking countries off a list. By saying meaningful experience, that means a layover at an airport doesn't count. We have to go somewhere. And our favorite thing to do wherever we go around the world is to immerse ourselves into the heartbeat of each place. We make it a point in most of the countries we go to now to visit a grade school wherever we can.
Oh, how cool.
It's interesting if you reach out to like the principal of a grade school. First of all, we've learned that countries all over the world, the principals of the schools nearly always speak English for educational reasons. But what we do is we reach out ahead of time and we say we're just two regular people from the States. We would love to come just and experience your school and see what it's like, and we would like to bring you something. So we'll bring a suitcase full of soccer balls or crayons or whatever it is that the principal asked for. And we have never done that. And we've done that all over the world, but we've never done it when we haven't been invited to someone's home afterwards. Like, one of the teachers or one of the parents of the children or the principal, her or himself, invite us to their home. And it's just magical sitting on the floor with kids and telling stories and singing songs. And it is the most direct way to literally feel the soul of a culture. And it reminds us to stay grounded in the things that really matter, the connection and curiosity and shared humanity that transcends borders. It's magical.
That is magical. I mean, just thinking about, like you said, Antarctica, I've always wanted to go to a igloo hotel. I don't know why that specifically. That was the first thing I thought about. But like you said, I never thought about calling up a school and being like, hey, can I just like experience your school? Like just hey, can I just come and hang out? I'll bring some crayons. What do you guys need? Paper. And just being able to experience life with other humans. Yeah. Like, it's just what do you call it? The humanity of it all is just so amazing. And it's inspiring me to have a few things on my bucket list to write down and do. So
there are so many amazing places all around the world to have these experiences, and something that I will get on the rooftops and shout to every American in particular, because everywhere we go, we see so many people from whatever, Scandinavia, from Europe, from Canada, traveling all around the world. And the Americans are much less traveled compared to our counterparts around the world. It's the most eye-opening thing that I've experienced in my life, in terms of just actions that I've taken to really truly understand culture and the differences between humans around the world. And I think we're on 66, or we're nearing 70 countries now, so we've got a long way to go. But we're working our way there.
Do you have like a dream location? Like, what's the next place you want to go to?
I do. The place that I have not been yet, where I really, really want to go, is Greece.
Ooh, yes.
It's crazy that we haven't been to Greece, because it's one of the most common and popular tourist destinations. But several times we've been scheduled to go there. I was scheduled to go there last year, and then completely unrelated to anything, I had one of the most devastating experiences of my life about a year ago and 3 weeks ago. 1 year and 3 weeks ago, I went to work. When I went to bed that night, the only physical possessions that I still owned was whatever I was wearing on my body or what was in my car, because my house burned to the ground and I lost everything. And we were scheduled to go to Greece just a few months after that, and we had to cancel that trip for obvious reasons. We had a lot of things to take care of. So I find that the universe is conspiring somehow to lead me to Greece at a point in time when my soul is ready to receive what I really am looking to receive there. I've done so much research and so much reading around, what the especially around Eleusis and Athens, and understanding how for thousands of years, if you lived in Greece, in the Western world, really for thousands of years, you would go to make this pilgrimage. You'd walk to modern day Athens and then take this pilgrimage, which was just a couple of days up a trail. And you would experience this place called Eleusis, which what we now know was happening was a psychedelic experience. There's this psychedelic resonance that's happening around the world, treating veterans with PTSD and other things, and using these medicines to help uplift humanity. I find it fascinating that this resurgence is happening with what's going on with AI and machine learning and all the things right now. But I've done so much research and reading on the impact of that part of the world on humanity, and then how it all fell apart. Around at the beginning, around the time that Jesus would have walked the earth is when all the things started to be dismantled, and the Library of Alexandria was destroyed by Theodosius in 392, and
there's so much history,
so much there, and I'm very excited to spend time there. And I have a very dear friend that lives in Athens who has connected me with an archaeologist and a specialist in all of the things, and we've been on the phone chatting. So I'm ready. I'm ready to go. I just need to get.
I'm rooting for you, because like you said, like you've already got the archaeologist on the phone. I mean, it's just, there's so much history in Greece, and I mean, all over the world, there's so much history to learn. I would love to know, like, after having, your house burned to the ground like that, that is really devastating. So you lose everything. How did that experience, like, what did that experience teach you about our material possessions in life?
Oh my goodness, Macy, we need an entire different episode to go into the depths of that, but I'll headline it. I'll headline it for you. I guess the simplest way for me to put it is what I had intellectually known before, for a long time. I knew, again, intellectually about materials and, the things that I had gathered. And I was the guy in my family that curated all of the family heirlooms. When my mom died in 2011, it took my dad 4 years to be ready to have her things moved out of his closet. And I got a call from my niece saying, Uncle Jay, Grandpa said he's ready to like move stuff out. And so I got into a car, drove the 3.5 hours, to my small, Nebraska hometown, and loaded up all of the stuff that the family, had gathered from great grandparents, everything that we still had left, brought it to my house. So I lost all of that, in a matter of hours in this fire.
Oh my gosh.
There's no real way to prepare for that kind of loss.
Right.
But what it taught me is about impermanence and about how fragile and fleeting life and all of this stuff, really is. And I've learned I am not what I own. I am not what I achieve. I am not even the roles that I play. The fire burned away more than just possessions. It burned away the illusion of control.
Wow.
And it stripped at least my life down to the essentials. And what was left for me, what I experienced was a sense of stepping into a new way of being, of clarity and connection, and a slower, more deliberate rhythm. And I feel deep gratitude. I feel I have much less armor than I used to. And I have
that is so powerful. That's so powerful that you said that. You said, I am not what I own. I am not what I achieved. And I like in this world, we're all so consumed with, oh, what do I have? What does the next person have? What have I gotten? All of these things. And it's great to have these achievements because, you should feel proud of yourself. But then once you have something devastating happen like that, it's like this reminder of like, you being a human on this planet and the simplicity of it all. Like, it's like you're born here and then you're gone and that's it. And so you cherish the memories that you have with the people that you care about. And so just, we have been talking already for a great amount of time, and I feel like I could just keep talking if I wanted to. But, as we are getting ready to wrap up today's episode, and considering all that we've talked about, we've talked business, we've talked travel, we've talked possessions, what would you like the audience to know about Jay? Since you are not what you own and what you have achieved, what do you want the world to know about who you are?
It's interesting because one of the other things that the fire has kind of led me down this path. I do more breathing and more meditation and more just simply being present, just feeling the presence of the things around me. And part of that is I've given up on this idea that I had before. I didn't really know how intensely I was living my life for legacy. And now when I hear the word legacy, I actually bristle a little bit because I don't feel connected to that word anymore.
Right.
Because legacy is imbued with a little bit of ego, at least the way that I process the words. I don't care about being remembered anymore. I mean, they like losing everything in the fire has kind of helped me release all that. Wow. What I care about is just stepping into the full expression of my life and my consciousness and my ability to love and to enjoy my life and to have fun. I am married to a goddess that walks the earth. My wife is the most spectacular human that I've ever met. Aww. And my good fortune to have that I now more deeply understand how I can honor and respect and love her in ways that I didn't even know I was capable of.
Yes.
I'm so focused now on just being, and if I'm going to leave anybody with anything, the magic of allowing yourself to move away from what I was focused on before. I would have called it performance. I had so many masks that I would wear, and I would want to come across a certain way for certain people. I was performing.
Totally.
So I've had this shift from performance to presence in the last year. And I didn't know I was going to have this journey. I didn't know it was going to happen to me. So if I'm leaving anyone with anything, it's this mindset that it's never too late to be who you might have been. And for me, that is a human that's fully capable of living and expressing and loving and caring for others. And now focused more on impact. How can I impact and help other people as opposed to leave a legacy? That's where I'm focused today.
Absolutely. That was so amazing. You're shifting from performance to being present. And I think that definitely really is the soul of just doing more good. Like it's more than just, companies having this and that. It's literally about loving and just being present, because like you say, legacy has that ego dripped in there, and all you can really do is be present and love people as best as you can. And it's so inspiring to see how much you care about the ones that mean the most to you, and how much you want to just inspire the world to just do good. Like that's literally the mission. That's the message. So we've learned so much from investments, and we've learned so much about business and travel and love and, tragedies and different things like that. So we just want to say thank you so much, Jay, for joining us here on Partnerships for Profit. You have been amazing. I am inspired. I am inspired to do more good in the world and not to be focused on performing for people. It's just about me being who I am and loving people to max capacity.
Yes. I want a round of applause for that.
Round of
beautiful.
Applause.
Thank you, Macy.
Thanks, y'all, for joining, and we'll see y'all next time on Partnerships for Profit. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Partnerships for Profit. We hope you've gained valuable insights on how to form profitable partnerships and take your business to the next level. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. Got a partnership story to share or someone you'd like to see featured on the show? Reach out to us. Until next time, keep building those partnerships for profit.